Welcome back to Believe in Badgers on the Believe Network, presented by Oak Ridge Wealth Management. I'm Matt Perkins, joined, as always, by Badger legend, the Hebrew Hammer himself, Matt Bernstein. Bernie, how are we doing today?
Yeah, buddy. Dude, every day on the podcast, a holiday with you, Matt Perkins. Actually, it's funny. This gentleman didn't know me as the Hebrew Hammer. He knew me as getting my butt kicked on the scout team. But I would say this person, Wendell Bryant, if everyone's watching, you could see him, is like a unicorn. When I showed up to college, that's when I knew, like, wow, I'm in a whole different dimension with like real human beings who can move at, what is it, 6'5", 300?
6'4" and a half, 310 pounds. Yeah.
But like looking svelte.
Yeah, these days probably about 290, 295. I mean, no, if you don't need it, no, don't keep it on. No, like at this point, I'm just trying to look nice in my clothes, and keep moving on into the next sector. But yeah, dude, like if you don't have to hold that weight, oh my gosh, get rid of it as quickly as possible. But so once you get into this section, like, it's a bunch of calisthenics and jumping up and down. I mean, if your knees do work that well, there's definitely not a lot of weightlifting. So I definitely tell anybody, the bike should be your friend. Like, the bike is a great friend to you for the rest of the years, and, get you a nice solid one that's going to hold you down. Yeah.
If your knees and back don't go out, consider yourself pretty lucky.
Consider yourself, brother. Yeah.
That is the voice, like Bernie said, of two-time All-American Badger legend Wendell Bryant. We are so pumped to have him here today. If he was around during the NIL era, Bernie, he would have gotten some big checks. So, and
he wouldn't have to be drafted first round. He would have kicked his shoes off after 22.
But I bet if he was he would have needed Chris Anicetti and Oak Ridge Wealth Management. That is what his team does. They take care of NCAA athletes with NIL deals. If you are a current or future NCAA athlete with NIL deals, you got to get in touch with Chris. He's our main man. He's been sponsoring the podcast for a long time. His entire team at Oak Ridge Wealth Management do one thing and one thing only, and that is take care of athletes. Yes. So if you are the parent of a current athlete, a current athlete, a future NCAA athlete, get in touch with Chris and his team at Oak Ridge Wealth Management. All they are going to do is set you up with the best financial plan you can get to make sure you can focus on what you do best, and that is perform on the field. Get in touch with Chris on Instagram at OakBridgeWM_Anicetti. That's OakBridgeWM_ANICETE, or head on over to the website, OakBridgeWealthMGMT.com. Chris Anicetti, Oak Ridge Wealth Wealth Management, get your money right. We all got the money on the brain. Wendell, what would have been your dream NIL sponsor when you were at UW?
Well, for me, it probably would have been. It would have been the group that ended up giving me my internship that I had before my senior year of going in. It would have been Kellner. It would have been Kellner Management. With Ted Kellner and Mr. Grantham, they were really outstanding, awesome guys and really friends to the program. But I talked to another friend of mine about this. I wonder, even after my first year, because he asked me, he was like, obviously, you had a great first year. Would you have come back to the University of Wisconsin, depending upon the offer? And I'm like, at a time period, then I was thinking it was probably more camaraderie, and given the events and the things that you go through with, your teammates at that time, that probably would have kept me at the University of Wisconsin. But depending upon a kid's financial situation, like, I understand why the kids jump around now. I mean, like, I wished I would have had, $10,000 to give to my mom so she could throw that into the house, or or send it to my dad for my brothers and sisters up there, or just anybody, just to have that amount of money. But to be able to affect change within your family would have been, such a boon and such a plus, for any kid. I know I would have loved to have been able to do that at that time. I'm super happy for the kids now as they're able to. But yeah, that would have been super nice. But yeah, it would have been for Merrill Lynch. I think that's probably the best one. I mean, if you're gonna get some money, you might as well reinvest it right back into the company that you're getting it from. And keep it going that way. I would have done that myself. Yeah.
But I love that you bring your family into it, because I think that's what NIL was set up to do, is to financially set these kids up for the rest of their lives, plus their families, because not everyone's from, Scarsdale, New York, where I came from. So I think it makes a lot of sense to do it. The only problem is it's kind of been, we can talk about this forever, but it's gone crazy. But it's gone crazy.
Bro, I initially, when I first heard of it coming on, I was like, okay, well, this is going to be wonderful. The kids are going to be able to get a little bit extra food, or, maybe they'll get a couple of thousand here, to get some extra clothes and stuff like that. But, now you're in essence up and into, the hundreds and 200s and 300s, of thousands of dollars in order for kids to just be able to play college football. And to an extent, I don't think it'll ever, take away from the thrill and excitement of getting to the National Football League. But a lot of these kids are like, I'm not going to get as much as I've been getting, here, as far as like as a top tier athlete that I'm going to get as a lower level athlete playing in the NFL or NBA or NHL or whatever it may be. And I think that's why you had a lot of these guys where you're having these 7-year, 8-year seniors. You guys are like 25, 26 years old, and they're still playing college basketball. And I'm like, that I believe, to an extent, like if you're a person you never got to play your 4, okay. But if you're going into your 7th year of playing, like it's time to go, bro. Like it's time to go ahead and relieve that spot for another kid that wants to have their dream. Like you could be sitting there at a university and you're taking the spot of some kid that's been trying to get to the university that's been looking up to you and wanting to play like you. So I believe that, but as long as you have the money level so high, I think it's going to, I don't want to diminish it in any way as far as like lower the level, but I think there definitely needs to be more control and more education to all of the families and all the individuals involved with this type of money. And for everyone to not get complacent, just because you've made, $1 million in college, like you still have the rest of your life. You can run through $1 million in a couple of bad summers, and a couple of bad investments. So hopefully this gives the kids a stepping stone, to sort of learn the financial field and learn the ropes of having, a tremendous amount of money and the responsibility, that's involved with having that.
And that's why we have Anicetti as part of our sponsor, because the dude actually knows what he's doing and he's going to help these kids forever, as is the plan. But Wendell, you went through such an incredible period of time. When we talk about money and things, you were 2-time defensive lineman of the year in the Big Ten. Think about the bonuses. Think about the Rose Bowl bonuses. You were there for those. You were there for also the shoebox. So like the ups and downs, dude, of NIL craziness. First off, the shoebox would have been a huge supporter. So like you got to take that out.
The shoebox at that point, the shoebox might have had their name on the Kohl Center before that guy. I mean,
Cam Shoebox.
Shoebox had been supplying shoes and helping us out as far as from a program standpoint from like the early '90s, dude. Like
but you use a good word, helping. They weren't. You couldn't leave like 7,000 pairs of shoes. You took 3-4 pairs and you didn't get. Listen, you got some janky shoes from the what's it called? Like from Big Country, from Country and all those guys. You got it from the managers.
Reeboks, the Reeboks were definitely not of the quality that you might have had back in the day. Like we didn't have Nike back in the day. Like we went from Reebok, and the best shoes that I got from Reebok were the Allen Iverson, the Questions. I used those like my sophomore and my junior year for the most part until we moved over to Under Armour. But yeah, like we didn't have Nike.
We went to Adidas.
Yeah, it was Adidas.
Yeah, we did go to Adidas. We had Adidas for the shoes, and we had Under Armour for the clothes, which was
crazy. Under Armour for the clothes. That's right.
Yeah, which was wild.
Wild. So then I can understand why you go to the shoebox to get actual shoes. It's so funny. But I want to go back because what I mean is, dude, not only the NIL stuff, but there's a little Wendell Bryant in this story somewhere. I've never met him, but there's a young Wendell Bryant who started out in St. Louis and never played football before. And then there's the next day when he did. What is that kid like?
Okay, so given the time period when I was, like, obviously we have Pop Warner football. So given my size, like at about 11 or 12, like I was already like 6'3", 220 pounds. And so my mom took me over to the Pop Warner place, and they was like, well, he's going to have to play with the 15-year-olds. And she was like, well, he's 11. He just turned 12. Like, he's going to get murdered. So I, unfortunately, even with the taste of wanting to play, I had to wait my time and bide my time.
Wow.
I had to wait until high school. Like, I didn't get to play like officially, like organized until freshman year of high school. Like, once I did from there, like I it was like, like a duck of water after that, but I definitely, like any kid does, when you're first coming out, you're first starting out, no matter if you're big or small or whatever, you're going to have those pre-practice and first practice jitters. And obviously like anybody, like I had them, and trust me, they're even worse when you're one of the biggest people, that's out there. But you're like, well, I've never hit anybody before. I've never gotten hit before, and that first time is a revelation, especially, getting hit from those kids that have been playing for whatever years. But, once I took that first, like I got cracked and I put on my ass type of situation, like from there, the rest of it was kind of like, okay, like, always keep your head on the swivel and always keep your hands up, because you never know who's coming to knock you on your tail. So yeah, but no. And then after, so I'm like 6'3", 220 going into my freshman year. So I finally get to start playing. And then I'm on the freshman team just like anybody else. We're not that good, but then, my high school as a whole wasn't necessarily, the most successful, at the time when I was there. Like, we might have went, like 2-8, and then like 3-7, and then like 3-7 or something like that. They've had a lot of extended success, over this last probably decade with the head coaches over there. The head coaches over there now, Mr. Kirksey. But when I was there, oh no, we were getting our ass kicked. Yeah, we were the bottom of the Suburban North Conference in St. Louis. But that conference, pumped out a lot of talent. Like, that's where Terrell Fletcher came from. That's where Jamar Fletcher came from. And a bunch of cast of characters of different players, that ended up playing in the Big Ten and in other places. They all came from that Suburban North Conference. So even though we were in the bottom, you were still getting to play against, some of the top tier kids in the state. So, and I think that definitely helped me going into my, junior and senior years of going into high school, because I was standing out because I was just, following the program that the coaches was giving for the most part, is, hand in hands, like basic fundamentals, and then football started to just weave into me, just as far as like the fabric of myself and who I was. So then it just kind of became easy, and I started to stand out as far as a player. But then the team, we were still just 3-7 and 3-7. So the most you can do is go out there and give your best effort and keep doing that every play, every day that you're out there. But it does get to kind of wearing you down. You're like, am I going to eventually get to a place to where we're actually winning? So once Cosgrove finally came and recruited me to the University of Wisconsin, like, I was just excited to go to somewhere that actually was winning. Like, and you like people take that for granted. Like, when you've gone, we went 1-9, 0-10, 3-7, 3-7. Like, when you come from a team like that, high school or pros or whatever, and you go to an organization, that's built upon winning, that's built upon doing things the right way, and they have fun and they get it done. You want to do everything you can and throw all that you can as far as yourself and everything, your mind and mental, into that program. And that's what I did, even though I was super nervous out there, and my coach was yelling at me at every given point in time. But that's how JP was. That's how JP was. And if he's not yelling at you, that means he's giving up on you. So take it with a grain of salt. Yeah. Like, if he's yelling, you're good. If he's yelling, that means you're a good enough player to be better. And if he's not yelling, that means it's time to go home. So,
and he was yelling.
He was yelling.
Sun up to sundown.
He was yelling on kickoff. He was yelling on kickoff return. He was yelling in the meeting. He was yelling on the field. Like, I'm surprised that he still has his voice now. He's definitely got pretty good knees, even though I he would have them, but he's got good knees. He's got a good voice now, especially.
Wendell, I saw him at a tailgate last year. Scared me to death.
Yeah.
And he came up as the nicest. He's like, "Hey, Bern, man, how are you doing?" I'm like, dude, you still scare me. By the way, Wendell, he yelled at me so much that I thought he literally had it out for me. And Coach White told me that he's the reason I came to Wisconsin. So, like, now it makes sense. But it's, like 45. I'm 42. It's a long time after.
Right.
But Wendell, so Wisconsin couldn't have been the number one school. Like, what are the other schools coming to look at you? And then I got to know, dude, where did you get like the side to side, the movement, the quick twitch? Like, I showed up, I've never seen it before.
Well, like I tell anybody, we'll first touch on the schools.
Okay.
They obviously Wisconsin was the number one school because they ended up being the school to go to. But no, I luckily, given my size and my frame, me not understanding it at the time, like I'm coming out of high school and I'm 6'4", 275 pounds. So and I can actually run and I'm fairly fast. So me not understanding anything. I actually, was recruited, and most of the recruitment was done in the Midwest, but I was recruited by, a couple of really prominent schools that I would have never thought. I got a couple letters from. I got a letter from Notre Dame. I got a letter from Michigan. Got some from Minnesota, Oklahoma. Oklahoma wasn't necessarily Oklahoma at the time, but Oklahoma, Missouri, Indiana, obviously, Purdue, all of the schools in the Big Ten except for. All the schools in the Big Ten except for Ohio State and Penn State and Michigan State. Yeah, I think they kind of understand as far as my parents being able and my grandparents being able to get to the games.
Sure.
Obviously, wasn't a whole bunch of flying going on. So for my grandfather at the time, for him to have to, do like a 12-hour ride from Missouri all the way out to the Ohio, Pennsylvania area was kind of a stretch, doing every couple of weeks. So luckily, given my major that I wanted to jump into at the time, which was chemical engineering, I was like, okay, well, then I'm just going to go to the University of Wisconsin because it was a 2-for-1 for me. Like I initially was like, oh, okay, I'm playing football to go to school. Like I was like, we'll see how far football goes. But we're mainly here to, to get our education and we'll see where this goes. But then once you start having success, success takes over, depending upon what you're doing. So, so once you start putting more and more time into the things that you're successful at, then that becomes the number one thing. So, let me see, Notre Dame, Purdue, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, all the schools in the Big Ten, Missouri was one, Oklahoma,
So everywhere, basically. So a lot of people were interested in the Wendell Bryant business.
I think I got more Midwest schools because they understood my family situation as far as me wanting to have my grandparents and my mom and my dad being able to go to the game. So I think it does kind of come down to that. I think a lot of guys will initially be recruited and they'll have that one recruiter from that one school meet them. And then once he has that one conversation, then it kind of spreads to the rest of the coaches like, okay, that this kid's willing to leave. This kid's probably going to stay because he's more family oriented. And those are all things that I'm sure that all assistant coaches and head coaches have to factor in if they're going to invest, time and energy and flights and money for an assistant coach to go to this guy's games, to go to this guy's house, to take him out, for us to bring him out to the university. Like all of those, the kid has to actually be a candidate, and the university has to understand if they're an actual candidate to actually be in the kid's grace to actually come.
Right.
You mentioned Coach Cosgrove, and he actually was on the show with us a couple weeks ago, which was an absolute blast to have him and Clint on together.
Awesome.
Talk about your relationship with Coach Cosgrove and give us some of your favorite Coach Cos stories because he's a character and we absolutely adore him.
Yeah, Kaz is one of the best. I remember when Kaz first came up to my high school, Rittner High School, he kind of saw me in the gym, kind of, doing my thing or whatever. And I actually had these, I don't know if you guys remember them. They were kind of like strength shoes where you could kind of put them on the front of your regular like basketball shoes, but they helped you like run, they helped you like get better for your calves. And as far as like they were good for your knees, as far as like if you were a person who couldn't jump that well, like if you were trying to extend your athleticism to an extent, like they would definitely help in that aspect. So I was one of those, and I was one of those types of kids. I was a late bloomer. Like my size, for the most part, like even it doesn't necessarily make sense to me, because my dad's 5'10", my mom's 5'6". So yeah, and I'm their first kid, and like my mom's only kid. So me being 6'4" doesn't necessarily make sense. But then my great-grandfather was about 6'4", 6'5", but he was a very thin man. And then my grandpa on my dad's side, he was probably about 6'2", 6'3", but he was a very big man. Like he was a very, he was probably about 300, probably 300, maybe 320, 330, something like that. So I'm pretty sure I get most of the size from there. Because if you look at my parents, like it makes no sense at all. And then Coach Kaz actually touched on that. The first time he saw me, he was like, you don't even make sense. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, your dad's maybe 5'10", 5'11", and your mom's 5'6", 5'5", and you're 6'4.5". Like, do you have any idea where that comes from? I'm like, I'm 17 at the time. I'm like, well, of course not. I'm like, but if it works for you, it works for me. So let's see where it comes. But no, I remember he's such one of the best dudes. And I also remember when he came to our house for the first time. So he came to the house, and then he brought JP that first time. So I'm meeting JP, and I'm thinking JP is just like the nicest guy. Like I would have never thought, that he was going to be, MFing me for the next 4 years. But you will never believe the face, that these people could put forth, in front of the grandparents, in front of the mom. But that thing totally changes once you get out to the practice field. Let me tell you, it's super great too.
Totally changes. So I would assume you took a visit. Who was what was that like? Who was your person, your host?
Your host.
Oh, and so this is the type of mentality I had back in the day. I would have said that, back in the day, and even to an extent right now, like I was a super nerd. So I was like, okay, to an extent, I was looking for somewhere, knowing, the pitfalls of people once they get up to, universities and things like that. Like obviously you have a ton of free time. So you have free time to do all of the things that you either know you should be doing or shouldn't be. So I came up there, had to been December. So it's like, probably the second week of December, they're practicing to play Georgia. Saw a couple of the bowl practices. I went out with Jamar Fletcher. So they got a person from St. Louis at the time. So he takes me out. So we go out to a couple of parties or whatever. He says, you cool? And I'm like, okay. And so he makes a move or whatever and goes. And then I kind of look around and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of by myself right now. So, I'm like, well, this is a little bit awkward, but obviously I was able to, navigate my way. I think I was off of not Langdon, but it might have not Langdon, but the other street is it's another street that's like right where the Kohl Center is. Whatever street the Kohl Center's on,
Dayton Region
Street. So
Spring Street.
Yeah. So I walked out of the party and then caught me a cab back up to not the in-towner, but the hotel at the top of the Capitol where everybody stays at.
The Monona Terrace.
Monona Terrace.
Hyatt? Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah, the Hyatt. So ended up taking a cab back there, and I was like, oh, man, this place is perfect. I was like, it's cold. I was like, I'm not going to have fun. I was like, my recruiting visit dude, he ended up leaving me. So I was like, okay, well, this is going to be a perfect place for me to go to school. I'm going to and I'm never going to have a good time. That was a lie. That was one of the worst lies. That was just like off weekend or something like that. Because literally, as soon as I got up there, it was go mode. And I would tell anybody that, you think you've partied, and then you come to the University of Wisconsin and you realize, oh, people are up here they might be just having a shot just to keep their face warm. And you want that makes a ton of sense. Okay, you don't necessarily have to do that. But you understand once you're up there for a certain amount of years, this is what people need to do in order to survive. So you're like, okay, I got it. Let me join in the party then. Yeah.
So when I redshirted, this is like one of those you see in movies. And Wendell, you were there we're at the college club. It's probably happened to you a bunch. It happened to me towards the end of my career.
Yeah.
I'm standing next to you, and they hand you a tray with shots. The whole thing filled with shots.
Yes.
You didn't pay $1. And I was like, this is real. This is real. And I was a drinker. So I was like, yes! Yeah. I'm like, I did the right thing. And this is early. And, it's Wendell was Jeff Mack, all of our friends, everyone was there. And I'm like, man, Wendell's so cool, dude. Look at this guy get a tray of shots and he didn't even ask for it. And they just gave it to him.
I'd tell anybody, I'm like, we had, I'd have to say, most of the people that you will talk to that were, played ball or just went to the University of Wisconsin period, they had an outstanding experience. It's one of those towns to where you want to come back, you feel the love, you understand the love, obviously, the nostalgia that's there. And you remember when you're walking to class and you want your kids to have that feeling too. It's one of those places where it's a beautiful place to come back to, not just because of the memories, because though it's one of those places where it's the land that time forgot. like nothing too much changes. Like you might see a couple of the buildings, get a little bit higher, but for the most part, you can still head out to the terrace, have a beer. You can still, ride your bike down State Street. You can still just have the college experience, which I think, if you go to university, I think it's definitely changed. Like it's definitely, the more the money comes in, the more things are going to get, a little convoluted and spread out. And you got different names on different buildings, but you want to be able to keep the college experience where you're able to be a young adult, but you're able to figure out how to navigate the world from here. And I think Wisconsin definitely holds on to that, leaps and bounds.
As long as there's still scooters for athletes, you're going to hold on to it.
Believe it. Yo, I took so many L's on those things, brother. Oh my goodness. Yo, so many losses on those scooters. Yeah, you're like, oh, I'm good, and then like you don't see that patch of black ice, and then you just end up hitting that corner, man. That corner at 36 miles an hour on that thing is, man, it's a heck of a.
We didn't wear helmets.
No, never did. Dude, wear a helmet for physical people collisions, but wouldn't wear one on a motorized vehicle.
And Wendell, how dumb is it? We wear helmets on a bicycle, but not on a motorized scooter. Like it's the stupidest thing.
And I could have told you, and I can tell you, every dude's excuse for that is, I don't want to look stupid. Like, trust me, they're like, I just don't want to look stupid with that thing. And I'm like, you could end up going too fast and hit your head and have brain damage. It's like, I don't want to, but at least I'll look cool. I might be brain damaged, but I'll look cool.
They should have given us a helmet. They should have given us old helmets without the face masks.
Yes.
Look like a real idiot, but I thought it would have been perfect with the W on the side.
Not all the decisions need to be made by the kids. Sometimes you can step in and as adults and do better for us because we're not doing well for ourselves. I think that's a badge of honor as an adult. That's what you should do, is to help the kids out. If you see a kid running somewhere, about to run into a wall, tell the kid stop. If he doesn't stop, at least you told him stop. Yeah.
All right, so Wendell, you mentioned so your trip wasn't all that it cracked up to be, but you loved it. You show up day one, and you are on like one of the best teams to ever be assembled at the university. First off, did you show up on a Tuesday and do the stadiums in the summer?
I did not. Okay, so
you're lucky.
This was what happened to me was I didn't come up for the summer. Like that freshman summer beforehand, I stayed in St. Louis. I had me a good time, but I did all of the workouts. I did everything and all the running that was there, but I wasn't ready to, in essence, leave home like that. I understood, like, this is your senior year. Like, this is your last senior summer before your freshman year, so enjoy the summer. So I went out, had a good time, but worked. And then during the week, it was work and working out. And during the weekend, I had fun. But so my mom, she brought me up to the seminary. I had to pull it up there probably maybe 10 or 15 minutes late or something like that. So, because she took me to drop, because we got lost. So she took me to drop my stuff off at the towers. She took me to drop my stuff off at the towers, like my main big bag. So did that. And then she drove me out to the seminary. And then it was like, then she waved goodbye and she was like, gave me a hug. And she was like, gave me a hug and kiss. Was like, all right, baby, I'll see you in whatever time, whenever we come up here for a game. And then that was it.
And you had no idea what you were walking into at the seminary, did you?
No. So basically, you got like a number. They throw your little, what was it, Reebok jersey or Reebok shirt on you at the time with your little shorts. And you get your little cleats. Your cleats are fresh. You might have to break them in, and you really don't get any time to break them in. It's really like put them on and get to running. So did that, put everything on, and then went out to the field. And so the first thing I did coming out of the car was the field test. Was the running test. So I guess it was like a 300 at the time.
Yep, 300-yard shuttle.
So I showed up, coming out of the summer, wasn't up there working out with the people, and I was, as I'm saying it now, I'm like, okay, that was cool. But didn't work out with any of the strength coaches or any of that. And so I get out of the car, I put my stuff on, I go out there, I win. I came in first. So I was like, all right, bet. So they were like, oh, okay, you're ready to go. I'm like, yeah, let's go. As far as like and obviously it was the people within my freshman class, but then they understood, like once we got past freshman class and we started to do it into, the rest of the sophomores and the juniors and seniors and everybody else, it was like, okay, he's still like coming in first so he can run. I was like, I just didn't have the size at the time. Like I was still like, okay, you're tall and you can either go one of two ways. Like you're either going to lose weight, you're at 275, you're either going to lose 30 pounds and be like an outside linebacker, stand-up defensive end, or you're either going to gain 30 pounds. And since I macaroni and cheese and stuff like that, food like that I ended up gaining 30 pounds. So I ended up being 305, but I could still run. So as long as you can run, you got a shot.
Wait, let's go back for a second. Your first day was the seminary?
First day.
That sounds worse than Tuesdays running the stadium. I showed up on a Tuesday. It was one of the worst days of my life. Because again,
and you did? My goodness, Berg.
Dude, I got off the plane and they're like, and I thought it was like orienteering, like you go in and like, hey JD, nice to meet you. He's like, cool, we're going up to the stadium, put on your stuff. And they couldn't give me stuff. Remember? So you had like the freshmen or the new people look like complete a-holes because I was in like blue shorts from my high school and whatever I had from my high school, which wasn't matching Wisconsin at all.
No.
Like Nike shoes, like bad. Everything was terrible. It was the worst day of my life.
You're running in your cleats that you've had since like sophomore year of high school. You're like, oh man, and like there's just no way you're already not gonna keep up with some guys that have been working out for the last couple of years ahead of you, so they're already stronger. But I
started in the intermediate group. I wasn't even everything was a nightmare. But I cannot even fathom what showing up day one as a freshman during the first 2 days of camp at the seminary. First off, Wendell, you got lost, which makes sense because there was no map. You had to map quest everything or ask directions.
This was like 1998, bro. I don't know. MapQuest.
That's pre-MapQuest. That's like you have an actual you have like the Wisconsin Gazette or whatever it is. Like
you had a map.
Yeah.
I think my mom might have had an actual like map of the United States type deal that she like pulled out, bro. Like this is 97, 98. Like I think first off, you had to have internet like that.
You had to plug it in.
You plug it to and have a computer at the crib to even be printing out MapQuest like that. So that right there, if you got that alone, you was rich, right? If you had a computer like that, you was rich. Like it's fact. Like people don't get it. They be like, oh man, I remember I've been playing online games since 2000. I'm like, you what? I'm like, how? I'm like, with the dial-up? I'm like, you was rich. I'm like, your parents were rich. I was like, there's no way.
You had like, 2 lines at your house.
It was like $79.99 for like 2 minutes of like bandwidth. I'm like, get out of here, bro. I'm like, your family was rich. That's the only way you had that like that. It's impossible. Yeah, it's crazy. So if you had a computer, you were able to print out MapQuest and different stuff like that. But for the most part, she had a map of the United States. And we just pulled that thing out and was like, okay. And then once we got closer into Wisconsin, we bought another map, I think, and it actually gave us a bigger overview because obviously we were just coming from St. Louis, so it's like straight up, take the 55 north, and once you get to like Beloit, then stop, pull over, get you some more information, and then keep on going. So, these kids have no idea. Oh my gosh, they have no clue.
I'm just picturing like a huge young Wendell Bryant showing up at the seminary with like a duffel bag, trying to figure out like you're not even in Wisconsin, you're not even in Madison, really. You're in Middleton. Wendell, so you walk in, you're in a gym with all your stuff is on the gym bags. You have a room with no air conditioning. It's pretty much. It sounds horrible. It is pretty horrible.
It was.
Who's your roommate? Like what class? I know Gryson was in your class, but sometimes there's some younger and older people. Your class was awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
One of the best. Not calendars. One of the best posters I've ever seen, too. That Gladiator poster.
Oh, the senior class. Senior class, yeah. That was a heck of a concept, too. But even so, like but I appreciate that. Like our freshman class that we had come in, as I look back now, like we had some hosses in that class. We had some dudes that ended up playing some really significant minutes and some significant time for Wisconsin, not even just in their later years, in their sophomore, junior, senior years, but even on those freshman in freshman year, that 98 Rose Bowl team, like we had some guys that played some significant roles, like Devery Hughes, Joey Bose, Carlos Clark, Bryson Thompson, Nick Gryson. All of those dudes played on special teams or were either twos with the first and second defense.
Nick Davis.
We had Davis. We had the Ben Johnson, Al Johnson, both in that class. Jake that class. Myself, like we had a bunch of horses in that class, dude. We had some really, really, really talented dudes.
You're dominating as in the freshman part of this.
Yeah, freshman was cool. Yeah,
and then these dudes show up, and there's some dudes on that team. What is I need to hear more about this.
Like, yeah, that moment you're like, oh, okay, this is different. Like I'm getting baptized right now. Like, yeah, we went to 9-on-7, and so that offensive line is obviously, the great Chris McIntyre, the athletic director. Mm-hmm. Then you had Billy Ferrario, you had Casey Rybach, you had Dave Costa, and then at that point in time, you had Aaron Gibson. And so you got Gibby coming off on you. So luckily for me, I played the right side and just played right defensive tackle. So I ended up running into Gibby that many times, but I ran into McIntosh and Billy a lot. And I remember it had to be, we were in 9-on-7, and you think you are of some size, but when somebody gets up under you, and then another person comes over top of you and you end up off of your feet at 6'4", 275, you understand what's going on. You're like, oh, okay. Like, I think I'm grown. I might got grown size, but these dudes are real. These are dudes some growth. These dudes are 21, 22, 20 years old. They're like if you think I'm going to let your young self get my ass in, like, that's not going to happen, little brother. Like, not at all. So, yeah, got lifted off my feet in 9-on-7. I believe it was an inside combo. Yeah, hit the ground very hard, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I felt it through, like you get lifted off the ground, and then you hit, and then your bones crack. And like, whether you're young or old, like, what that feeling's like, and you're like, oh, like it's like you feel everything crack, and you're trying to catch your breath at the same time. So yeah, it was one of those types of moments. So shouts out to Billy and Chris, man.
So you mentioned that you also, is Cecil on the team right now? Cecil Martin?
Oh, Cecil Martin is on the team. We are a ground and pound, run the football team. So we did 9-on-7 for team pass, for special teams, for team run. Everything was run the ball. Like, it don't matter what. Yeah. The only time the ball would be in the air more times with special teams than it would be with the actual passing game. But we got it done, though. 12-1 is 12-1.
12-1 is 12-1. I mean, you're talking about possibly one of the best offenses. I mean, one of the most beautiful to watch Ron Dayne run. What's it like being around? I mean, you mentioned a lot of guys from your class played in the league, but a lot of guys from that team played in the league. What's it like to be around, like, Ron Dayne, I would say, if not the best running back to ever play at the College of Wisconsin? There are people who could say JT and some other people. However, this dude was doing it like 270, running the ball 30, 40 times a game.
Oh yeah. Like when there's people that are special people, and a guy 5'11", 5'10", but 255 pounds, but he's still running like a 4.45, 4.5. Like it's different. Like when you're able to put up certain numbers, like those guys, they just have a different gear, and they're just different. I don't even know another way to say it. It's like you have something about you that other people don't have. Like whether it's your wingspan or whether it's your height with your speed or how fast you are or what it is. Like he just had that extra. And if
it was his balance. He had like ballerina feet at 270. And so like you talk about balance, contact balance, like it was just like, if you look at some like power backs, they just like run over people. But he would always seem to just not just run over people, like, but also be able to keep moving and keep like, and that was always
so shifty.
You looked and you thought he was falling down, but literally he was just rebalancing himself, and he could give a quick 1-2, with his leg strength, because him in the weight room was a sight. Like he could lift the gym, like dude, like he's over there with the offensive linemen squatting, like those dudes up there squatting 400 or 500 pounds. And Ron was right there with him. First rack, 4 plates, 5 plates. And it might not be a far range that he's going, but please believe when he comes up, he's coming up with power, and he's coming up strong. And I've seen many a defensive back and linebacker get run over, not just in our practice, but definitely in a game by him, given that leg strength that he was bringing to the table. So no, shouts out to Ron. Yeah.
So Wendell, you're a freshman on this team, and when do you know, like, I'm going to play? Like, when does that happen for you?
That was interesting for me. So I was in the meeting, and then JP came up on me. He was like, well, we kind of want you to, we think you've been playing well enough in camp. We want you to, run with the twos, and we want you to travel. And at the time I'm like, you think I can play really? Like me? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I know you're you're still new to this. You're only 4 years in just from playing at the start of high school, but we think you got some talent, and your physical attributes that you have, like your long arms and things like that, like they're a gift. So if you're able to train and you've been able to translate that gift, over the course of camp, and he's like, and we think you can play, so you're going to play. And it was crazy because they called my mom and dad first, to kind of let them know, like he's going to be traveling with the twos, because some kids come in and they're just like, I'm ready for this. Like, I know what I want. Like, I'm going to be the best college this or the best pro this or whatever. I literally just came in like, oh, okay, I'm going to play football, for the University of Wisconsin. I was like, but at least they're going to pay for school and, like this is going to be a great thing and I can hopefully have a great career after this. Like maybe I'll be able to play, football, extended on into pros or whatever, but at least I'll get my education. And once he got a hold of me, and once he got a hold of me, and then once JD got a hold of me, and I think that was real. That for me, I felt like was the thing that set us apart from everybody else in the Big Ten was just our strength coach and the due diligence that he had and the wherewithal that he had to really think outside of the box with a lot of things that he was implementing, in order to bring on to us. And I could say that, like his tree as far as people that, he put out, I mean, like, we'll just start with Ben. We'll just start with Herbs. Like, and obviously Herbs was able to go to do it with Wisconsin, then go to Arkansas, then go to Michigan, and now he's doing it for San Diego. And him, Joey Bose, like he's actually the strength coach for Cincinnati. Like, there's been a lot of dudes, not just in football, but dudes to be successful that came through the football program.
Ross Kalaji,
yes, Ross out in Stanford doing his thing. Like, there's been so many guys to not just be successful from a football standpoint, but to be able to be a part of the game and be able to be successful in any of the aspects and any of the things that they saw up in the University of Wisconsin, whether it was administrative, whether it was from a football standpoint, whether it was from just a working standpoint. Most of the guys have been super successful. And if you know anything about them, we're going to work. Like, that's what we do. We're going to work. We're going to work our ass off, and we're going to get it done.
We've said all these names. What was your first experience with Barry like?
Oh, that was he came to the house, obviously. So he's, he walks in, and you don't know, like people talk about an aura or like a glow or whatever. You're like man, that's some bullshit. Like, bro really hit the door like with a glow, like an aura. I was like, this is different. Like Kaz, like when you're 17, Kaz and JP, like, they're obviously, you respect them and, you really like, you want to give them their respect and you really like understand that they're a certain level of success within, the football annals. But then when the head coach walks in and then he walks in with the Rose Bowl ring and he walks in with the Notre Dame National Championship ring, like it just sets a different tone. Like you understand, you understand what it's like when Nick Saban walks up in a kid's house. Like, it's like, what do? Like, and even for the parents, like this man I'm looking at has achieved such a success level that and he actually wants my son and thinks my son can be successful. Who am I to be like, I'm looked down on him or think like he doesn't know what he's talking about? No, he definitely knows what he's talking about. Yeah, and that discipline that I want from my son, this man definitely has. Definitely, I think Barry, when he walked in, like he just set the tone of, like, we're professional. This is how we go about things. We think your son can play. We really like him to come up there. We really think he'd be an asset. And it was just such an easy pitch. Like he just like you could tell he had done it before. But at that point when I got it, it was like cognac. It was like smooth wine. It was like wine, aged from like 1920s or something like that. I was like, bro, sign me up, And then even after that, it was crazy. Like all the other recruiters could tell. They was like, you met Barry, didn't you? And it was like, yeah. They was like, they could kind of tell like it was over. They was like, there's a certain charisma that the man had, even from any of the other coaches that you will ever meet. Like certain coaches are like, they're a head football coach. Like he was like a boss. Like he was like, yo, like we're gonna get it done. We're gonna have a good time. I'm gonna take care of you. But when we're out here, we're fully business. But when we're off the field, no, we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna do it. But quiet though. Like, everybody need to know what we're doing, but we're going to have a good time. We're going to have it quiet. Yeah.
Dude, he literally reminds me, and everyone jokes that he's the Don, and I'm like, if you've seen the first Godfather scene, like when they go to the party, that is literally Barry Alvarez. It is him. It's his people coming to his room. They leave. They're like so impressed. So the dude's trying to he's practicing his lines, the 3 sentences to like goes, "Hey Barry, I'm so honored to be here." Like it is that like and I agree with you. Like that aura, it cannot be replicated. Might be the coolest person ever step into my house. My parents. I mean, literally most famous for sure. So Wendell, let's get back to you. So you're playing on this amazing team with some of the best players to ever play. What's your first game like?
Okay, so we play San Diego State. So we fly out, this literally probably like my 3rd plane ride. The other 2 plane rides were pretty 6 months ago when I went to the other recruiting visits type deal. So we fly out to San Diego. We're up in Qualcomm. I'm playing on the 2s, but I'm super nervous. I'm to the point of where I'm like, are they really going to call me in the game? I'm like, they don't have to. I'm like, I can just watch this first one. I was like, and then we'll get to the next one. And then, let me watch that one, and then we'll get to the next one. So, but no, they called my name. This had been within the first 2 series. And they're like, get out there. So I run out there. And luckily I'm on the field with Tom Burke, who was obviously a Wisconsin legend, absolute wrecking ball at the time, and then I played on that team with him where he set the sack record. There were 22 sacks. 35 TFLs, some insane number, some stupid number. So luckily I'm playing next to him. We have a game called, and he basically, he kind of takes control of the situation. So they're playing off of it. They're pretty much paying much attention to him. So we run the game, do whatever. I come around. They lose track of him. He somehow makes the play, makes the sack, and I come right behind him, touch the dude, but I pop him on the top of the head, and I'm like, okay, but that's pretty much my first play. So after that, they kind of moved me in slower and slower and slower, but by probably the 4th or 5th game, I was in with the 2s, so I was getting in regular rotation, but it is a thing of confidence. You never know how you're good until somebody actually tells you no, you're good, and gives you that, that push to be not only are you good, but you could be greater. And not from a cocky standpoint or not from a, overbearing standpoint, but they can tell you're just a kid that's just lacking confidence. It's not that you don't know, it's not that you don't know the physical attributes you have or the ability that you have, but literally you're just scared to show it because you don't know if it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. I'm a firm believer that the more confidence that you give the kids, the better off they are,
So confidence to me is the biggest important part of sports and a lot of other things you do in life. And I completely agree with you. We're running out of time, so I just want to keep pushing. Wendell, dude, you are on the 12-1 team. You go to the Rose Bowl. When you're getting through the season, what on earth? Is there a buzz? Are you guys just business as usual? There's a buzz going, and then what's it like? You get to the Rose Bowl, and then you are. I mean, everyone knows Wendell Bryant sack. That sack is one of the most iconic plays in the history of Wisconsin. How cool is that? That's a long story, but how cool that sack is so cool. It plays everywhere.
That season was just such it was what you want as a freshman year. You're coming in somewhere, you've been coming from losing. Obviously we were getting our butt kicked in my high school. So you're coming from that. And to see the example, and they were coming from actually getting their butt kicked too. So they lost to Georgia. Georgia, that was that Hines Ward team that they ended up having there with Camp Bailey, Hines Ward, Mike Bobo was the quarterback on that team. So they beat up on Wisconsin in that I believe it was the Outback Bowl or whatever shit like that. But they beat up on. So they were coming into that next season hungry, all those seniors had left. And if the last thing you have on your mind is a loss, trust me, your off season is it's a different thing, because especially if you you had a certain level of success that you were trying to get to, that you should have got to, that maybe you were 1 or 2 games away from. And that's exactly where they felt. So luckily my class, we just fell in line. Everybody was just okay, we already knew where we needed to fit, and we just were allowed as freshmen, the kids that came in, to just go out and play freely. We weren't asked to do much, but we were asked to go out and play freely when we were allowed to, and so we did so. But you're coming in with that team, and it's stacked across the board. Like the O-line is great, the D-line is great. You're wondering how good the defense is going to be, given the trouncing that they got from Georgia before. You're wondering if the offense is going to be able to hold up, because obviously everybody knows, like, we run the ball, but they don't know how well we can run the football. And so once we get into the year and get into the flow, I remember your coach, Brian White, I'll never forget this. We got to about 6-0, and he just started chants like, we be 6 and they be 0. And that it kept rolling week after week after week after week. And you need those little things and just those little boosts like that, because it not to a person that's been losing, but to a winner, winning can get complacent. And I'm like, I don't know how this can get complacent for you guys. I'm like, because we get murdered where I was from. So I just had more invested. Like when I came up there, I was like, I'm tired of, like, at a base level, I'm like, I'm tired of being a loser. I'm tired of playing on, even if you are playing well, like, it doesn't matter if you're playing, if you got 10 sacks and the team's 1-9, no one cares. Because those sacks were not obviously memorable enough and had no impact enough to actually make an impact on the game. But you keep playing hard, and everybody will tell you that. But you want to win. Like, I don't know anybody that plays football, even if you're playing well, even if you might catch 2 touchdowns, if you lose the game, it doesn't matter.
Nope.
You know, like it might matter for your contract when we get to the professional level and even in the college level, but every kid that's playing the game wants to win the game. There's not anybody that wants to be, oh, well, I caught 3 touchdowns or I had 2 sacks. Like, you don't care. Like, if it was a championship game, then it's the worst. Like, all you're caring about is the win. You don't care if you played well. Some of the best games I ever played, and some of the best games we ever won, I played terribly, and some of the worst games we ever played, I played great. So it's really all about the win for me personally. Yeah.
So Wendell, we do have to mention, with the 3 minutes we have left, your personal accolades are through the roof. I mean, 2 years in a row, defensive lineman of the year. You're drafted number 12, first round 12. That's 3 years in a row of, like, these humongous successes, which shows that perseverance is through the roof. How, and hard work and all that stuff. That's what I remember from this. All this hard work is crazy. Let me tell you a nightmare that I have a lot of the times. When I was on the scout team, we'd be running a play, and all of a sudden I'd look up, like, the play I took 2 steps, and there's big 77. I'm like, what the fuck? Did you know the count? What the heck is going? And I just remember you being so fast, and, like, dudes couldn't block you, and we're like, this. And then JP's like, run it again. Can somebody block Wendell Bryant? And we're like, no. The dude is the best player on the, like, nobody can block Wendell Bryant. What are you talking about? So with the last time, like, how cool is it to have those accolades? How cool is it to be first round? Like, that must be bananas.
It was. I will tell people, like, it's like they older people will tell you that, like, college is the best time of your life. But literally, though, like, it was my coming out party. We had such a great success. Like, it was literally probably 1 or 2 top 2 best times of my life. Because basically, like, I came into, like, the golden era. Like, we went to back-to-back Rose Bowls. We had back-to-back Big Ten championships. We had a multitude, at least 20 to 30 to 40 dudes go to the NFL. Like, and I think that golden era started a trend of, you know, for the rest of the guys that ended up coming to the university, because we had many dudes. Our pro day was always packed. Mm-hmm. Like, even from my freshman year, like, our pro day was always packed. And that is a tribute to the work ethic that all of us, you know, put in. And I will definitely say that things like even people talk about that you were fast or you were big and you were strong. I was like, there was a lot of work put into that.
Sure.
And they squoze a lot of work out of us. If it was Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, Friday, we were over there. But it was all of those extra days, like those Wednesdays that people would be in there, or those times where guys would go and they would hoop at the surf, or those times where guys would just be together doing stuff, you know, outside of football or inside of football, or doing that extra work. No matter if you catch Herbs doing extra arms and extra abs, or you can catch all the linebackers doing that, and different D linemen doing that. But once you have that type of wave of success, you know, around a program, it breeds success everywhere else. It's a beautiful thing. So I would have to say, like, it was and still is one of the best times of my entire life. And it set the precedent as far as from a work ethic standpoint of what it takes to be a successful individual as far as a man or woman. I think you learned it at that university going forward. So I have nothing but kudos and happy thoughts for the University of Wisconsin. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll get you out of here on this. What are you most proud of accomplishing?
Oh, I mean, obviously, and moving into this sector now, like I'm most proud of my family and most proud of my kids and my wife and everything. But as far as from when I was there, I would have to say it was that senior year when I had my 5-sack game versus Penn State, and only from a standpoint of Penn State was one of those schools that I wanted to go to as a kid, and obviously. It's one of those like it has like it's bare bones, like it's not flashy, like you're not gonna catch like you don't know whose name is it, but we're just a team. And so that was one of the places that I wanted to go to, but went through the time and they never recruited me. So for me, that was like a just desserts because it was like, okay, I really want to show these dudes, what they missed out on, by not recruiting me, my freshman year or whatever it was. And obviously, everything falls down how it has to, and even past to 1-2 Rose Bowls, been All-American Defensive Lineman of the Year, but I still wanted to stick it in their craw, like just to be like, yo, you guys should have recruited me. And obviously, candidly, we know now everything that was going on in the university at the time. So, everything works out. I'll say that. Everything works out exactly how it's supposed to. And I'm happy I went to the UW. Definitely.
Well, so then it feels pretty good to hang out with two guys who didn't get to recruited by Penn State, but got their revenge against Penn State. So that's pretty great.
It's great. Wendell, thank you so much for coming, man.
It worked out though, Bird.
It worked, dude. It worked out, man. Wendell, I feel like we could do this for another 3 hours. So thank you so much. This is so fun. I love you, dude. I hope to see you in Madison.
Bro. You already know. Sure.
So fun. Keep cool out there.
I shall, and if you guys need me during the football season, hit me back up. I would love to know how the boys are doing because
we will be. We absolutely will be. We can't wait for it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in here to Believe in Badgers on the Believe Network, presented by Chris Anicetti and Oak Bridge Wealth Management. We'll be back again soon. More interviews, more good times, and can't thank you enough, Wendell. And until next time, on Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.